From disaster to done.
East Texas Restoration Report. From disaster to done.
Imagine standing in your living room after a massive pipe burst has just completely turned your life upside down for a week.
Oh, yeah. Absolute chaos.
Right. And the incredibly loud, humming industrial fans, they've finally been hauled away. The new drywall is painted, the baseboards are perfectly caulked, and the restoration crew's trucks are, they're backing out of your driveway.
Best feeling in the world.
You breathe this massive sigh of relief. The room looks absolutely perfect. It feels like the whole ordeal is entirely behind you. But beneath that fresh paint, in the dark wall cavities and, well, the subflooring you can't see, a microscopic disaster might be quietly taking root.
It is the ultimate false sense of security, honestly. You are looking at a space that appears visually pristine, but the reality of the physical environment is it's entirely hidden from your senses.
Yeah, you just don't know what's back there.
Exactly. The gap between those two things, what you see and what is actually happening, is where the real danger lies.
You think the nightmare is over, but the truth is, the time right after the crew leaves is exactly when the worst disasters quietly begin.
Which is terrifying for a lot of people.
Very terrifying. So today, we're diving into an incredibly insightful document. It's titled Beyond the Restoration, the Duty of Follow-Up. And we're focusing on a specific section ominously called What Happens After the Job is Done.
It's a great piece.
It really is. So, for you listening, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to decode this fascinating gap between packing up the tools and actually solving a problem.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the foundational insight here is simple, but it completely shifts how you view any kind of repair. Completion does not always mean resolution.
Right. When a restoration team packs up, the physical labor is completed. The tearing out of the wet carpets, the placement of the drying equipment, the reconstruction, the task list is checked off.
The boxes are ticked.
Exactly. But resolution implies something entirely different. Resolution means the underlying threat, the chaotic element that caused the damage in the first place, has been completely neutralized.
Which isn't always the case when they walk out the door.
Not at all. Assuming that finishing the labor automatically guarantees the problem is solved is a massive cognitive blind spot.
That is such a psychological trap. Living through a major home restoration is effectively living in a disaster zone. It is loud, your routine is totally shattered, you have strangers walking through your kitchen.
You just want it to be over.
You are highly motivated to just declare the whole thing done. We desperately want the dopamine hit of writing the final check and getting our normal lives back.
We absolutely crave closure. The human brain is wired to associate the removal of visual chaos with safety.
Oh.
When the broken drywall is gone and the fans are turned off, your brain signals that the threat has passed.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Precisely. The problem is, water damage doesn't operate on human psychology. The text says, done is not always finished, because the environment itself dictates the timeline, not the contractor's schedule.
Okay, so is it kind of like putting a cast on a broken arm? Like the doctor putting the cast on means the medical procedure is done. You pay your copay and you leave.
That's a great way to look at it.
Right. But the healing process, the actual finishing of the job, is entirely separate and takes months.
Yes. And just like that cast, the immediate intervention stops the acute crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you assume your arm is magically finished healing the moment you walk out of the clinic, you're going to use it normally and re-break the bone.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The finishing requires biological processes that happen long after the doctor has moved on to the next patient. In restoration, the environment has its own physics to work through. The moisture trapped deep inside a wooden structural beam doesn't care that it's Friday at 5:00 p.m. and the crew wants to go home for the weekend.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on this a little bit. If I'm looking at a living room and the crew just ran those giant, super loud commercial-grade dehumidifiers for 4 straight days, and the drywall feels completely dry to my hand, why on earth would they need to come back? Where is the water hiding if I literally can't feel it?
It comes down to understanding the physics of building materials.
Mm-hmm.
Materials like drywall, wood framing, and insulation aren't solid. They are highly porous. They act like microscopic sponges.
Okay.
When a flood happens, water doesn't just sit on the surface.
Oh.
Through a process called capillary action, Water is actually drawn deep into the cellular structure of the wood, moving upward against gravity.
Moving upward. Wait, really?
Yeah, it defies what we normally think of water doing, so the water gets sucked up into the bones of the house.
Wow.
Exactly. So
Wow.
when the crew brings in dehumidifiers, they are manipulating the vapor pressure in the room to pull that moisture out. But the surface of the material always dries faster than the core.
So it's deceptive.
Highly deceptive. The drywall might feel perfectly dry to the touch because the top millimeter of paint and paper has given up its moisture. But deep inside, where the drywall meets the insulation or inside the center of a load-bearing wooden stud, a reservoir of water can still be trapped.
And you'd never know by just touching it.
Nope. This is the difference between free water, which easily evaporates from the surface, and bound water, which is chemically locked inside the wood cells.
Okay, so the surface dries, giving you, the homeowner, that illusion of safety. But the core is still soaked. The crew packs up, the house gets closed up, and then what happens? Does the water just stay there forever?
Well, nature always seeks equilibrium. Over the next few weeks, that hidden bound water slowly migrates outward, trying to balance with the dry air in the room. If a crew doesn't conduct mandatory moisture rechecks, actually coming back to the property days later with specialized diagnostic meters, that hidden moisture is left entirely unchecked.
And these diagnostic meters, they aren't just like touching the wall to see if it feels wet, right?
It's not at all. Professional moisture meters measure electrical resistance. Water conducts electricity, while dry wood resists it. By sending a small electrical current deep into the material, the meter can detect the exact percentage of moisture hiding in the core of a beam, entirely bypassing the dry surface.
That's fascinating.
It is. And without that technology and without the commitment to actually return and use it, the homeowner is completely blind.
Which means if you skip the moisture recheck, you are quite literally just waiting for the building to start failing to realize the job wasn't finished.
That's exactly what it means.
And the document points out that the first sign of this failure is usually odor. But I think most people assume a post-restoration odor is just a minor nuisance. Like, okay, there's a lingering musty smell.
Yeah.
You buy a nice vanilla-scented candle, plug in an air freshener, and move on.
Yeah, and treating a post-restoration odor as a cosmetic nuisance is one of the most dangerous things a property owner can do.
Really, just a smell.
An odor return is never just a smell. It is a chemical reaction. In an environment that recently experienced water damage, a musty smell is the ultimate sensory alarm bell.
Because the smell is actually biological activity.
Precisely. What you are smelling are called microbial volatile organic compounds, or MVOCs.
MVOCs, got it.
These are gases emitted by mold and bacteria as a byproduct of their metabolic processes. Put simply, it is the off-gassing of microorganisms consuming the building materials.
Okay, ew. So they're eating my house.
Exactly. Mold spores are everywhere, but they cannot germinate and grow without one specific ingredient, water. Therefore, if you have an odor return, you have active moisture. It is an absolute undeniable red flag.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because those microscopic gases are telling you that something is literally eating your house. The source text doesn't just stop at bad smells. It maps out the catastrophic consequences of ignoring them, moving straight into long-term structural concerns.
The stakes get very high very fast.
Right. It sounds like ignoring an odor return is like ignoring a termite in your house. It's not just a bug, it's a threat to the foundation. How does a seemingly finished restoration job mutate into a massive, long-term structural issue?
It's a compounding effect.
Yeah.
Let's trace the timeline of how a finished job mutates into a structural failure. Week 1, the crew leaves. The surface looks dry, but a pocket of moisture remains trapped behind a baseboard. It is completely invisible.
Okay, totally out of sight.
By week 3, that moisture has migrated and microbial growth begins. This is when you get the MVOCs, the odor return.
The musty smell starts, and if you just light that scented candle and ignore it.
By month 2, the fungi are actively secreting enzymes that break down the cellulose in the wood framing into simple sugars they can consume. They are literally digesting the structural integrity of the building.
Oh, man.
By month 6, what started as a small hidden pocket of water has completely rotted a load-bearing stud. The structural load shifts. The drywall begins to crack under the new stress. The floorboards begin to warp, cup, and separate.
Wow. So you no longer have a water mitigation problem. You have a massive structural engineering problem.
The severity of the risk exponentially multiplies over time. If the crew had just come back for a moisture recheck in week 1, they might have noticed the elevated reading, set up a targeted dehumidifier for 2 more days, and solved it for practically nothing.
Right, an easy fix.
But because they assumed done meant resolved, That same property now requires tearing down walls, replacing compromised framing, and paying tens of thousands of dollars to safely remediate a highly toxic mold environment.
That escalation from a damp piece of wood to the potential collapse of a structural wall is terrifying, especially because it is entirely preventable.
Completely preventable.
Which brings up the real question, who is actually responsible for catching that before it happens? We need a safety net. For most of us, the instinct is to rely on a warranty. You hire a contractor, they give you a 1-year guarantee on the work, and you feel safe.
That's the standard operating procedure for most people.
But the document explicitly argues against relying on warranties as the primary shield. It calls the solution the duty of follow-up. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We all know what a warranty is. You keep a piece of paper in a drawer just in case your TV breaks. But the text calls this the duty of follow-up. Why duty? Why isn't a warranty enough?
This raises an important question about the fundamental difference between passive safety nets and active risk management. If we connect this to the bigger picture of how contracts work, a warranty is entirely reactive. It requires a failure to occur before it possesses any actual value.
Right. If you buy a flat-screen TV and get a warranty, you have to wait for the TV to spark and go completely dead before the warranty matters.
And in the context of restoration, relying solely on a warranty means you are waiting for the drywall to crumble from structural rot, or waiting for a massive mold bloom to make your family sick before you invoke the agreement.
That is way too late.
It is. A warranty is a legal transference of liability. It says, if this completely fails, we will come back and fix it. But it does absolutely nothing to prevent the failure from happening in the first place. Furthermore, warranties often come with stipulations that place the burden of detection on the homeowner.
Oh, right. Like you must notify us within 24 hours of noticing an issue.
Exactly. But how is a homeowner who doesn't own a thermal imaging camera or a penetrating moisture meter supposed to detect moisture trapped inside a wooden stud?
They can't.
They can't. They can only detect the failure once it reaches the catastrophic level of smell or visible rot.
So a warranty just waits for the disaster. But follow-up, specifically calling it a duty of follow-up that shifts the entire dynamic. It's the difference between having a fire extinguisher sitting in a glass case on the wall versus having an active smoke detector scanning the air 204/7.
That is the perfect distinction. A duty is a proactive, moral, and professional responsibility. It requires initiation from the restorer.
Not the homeowner.
Right. The concept of duty means the professional is not sitting in their office, waiting for the client's frantic phone call complaining of a musty smell. The professional is the one scheduling the return. They are actively walking back onto the site, specialized diagnostic instruments in hand, actively hunting for the hidden risks before they can escalate into compounding structural issues.
Because they know the physics, they know the water is going to try to migrate, and they view it as their responsibility to catch it if it does. There's a quote here from the source text that really anchors this whole philosophy. Follow-up protects the outcome.
What's fascinating here is how that redefines what the outcome actually is. The outcome isn't the dry floor on the day the crew leaves.
Or the new paint job.
Right. The outcome isn't an aesthetically pleasing coat of paint. The true outcome is the long-term health, safety, and structural integrity of the building. And physics dictates that this outcome cannot be secured on the last day of physical work.
It takes time.
It can only be secured in the days and weeks that follow, through deliberate proactive investigation. The follow-up is the active shield that guards the physical restoration.
It totally elevates what seems like a mundane task. I mean, checking a wall with a meter a week after a leak sounds boring. But when you understand capillary action and bound water and how fungi eat cellulose, that simple meter reading is the only thing standing between a safe home and complete structural ruin. It rejects the transactional nature of pack up, send the invoice, and vanish.
It demands a completely different business model and a higher standard of care. It is a fundamental acknowledgement of reality. The physics of water and building materials do not conform to our desire to just be done with a stressful situation.
So true. Man, we have covered so much ground today. We started by dismantling that incredibly dangerous psychological illusion, the comforting lie that just because the trucks are gone and the room looks clean, the job is finished.
The illusion of done.
Exactly. Then we dug into the microscopic world of hidden moisture, capillary action, and the sensory alarm bells of those chemical odors. We traced how a tiny amount of hidden water compounds into devastating structural failure.
Which nobody wants.
Nobody. And finally, we arrived at the ultimate defense, discarding the passive reliance on a warranty in favor of the proactive, professional duty of follow-up.
If we apply this framework of completion versus resolution to the broader picture, it becomes a really powerful diagnostic tool for how you evaluate any major project or service in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you are dealing with contractors on your house, complex problem solving in your career, or even navigating medical treatments, you have to ask yourself, are we just checking off the labor, or are we actively managing the long-term risk? Are we relying on a passive safety net to save us if things go wrong, or are we committed to the proactive duty of follow-up to ensure things go right?
That is such a vital distinction to carry forward. And while our deep dive today focused on the physical restoration of buildings, drywall, and wooden beams, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over long after you finish listening to this.
I love this part.
Think about the internal restorations in your own life. Rebuilding a healthy habit, recovering from intense professional burnout, or repairing a fractured relationship after a major conflict.
Those take time too.
They do. And when we quickly declare ourselves done fixing those deeply complex things, just because the immediate arguing has stopped or the initial stress has passed, are we neglecting our own critical moisture rechecks? Are we mistaking the relief of silence for actual healing? Because, as we learned today, done is not always finished.